let's move on now to Anthony Richardson and kind of just the great situation that he's in with the Indianapolis Colts. It's coming in now with Shane Steichen, who was the offensive coordinator with this great Philadelphia Eagles offense last year. And Anthony Richardson kind of turned into just a bigger version of Jalen Hurts with how this offense is set up here. But before we kind of dive deeper into that, if you've not already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified when we create new Colts content. We have a lot more content coming up here now as we're starting to preview the 2023 season, which includes a lot more Colts content. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. And Ryan, Anthony Richardson is, one, just arguably the freakiest athlete that we have seen come to the combine, which
especially at the quarterback position.
Which is kind of crazy to think about too, because then it's like these guys are only going to be getting freakier. Now eventually it's going to be Anthony Richardson's going to be the average guy. But as of now, though, very raw, and I think similar to the other three quarterbacks that were taken in the first 33 picks. Not low expectations. I think just low overall expectations. They just want to see constant improvement, which I think is perfect for all of them, but particularly in Richardson's situation, because he does need to develop a little bit more. That has been very well documented. But then you do see glimpses, though, of him like with good footwork, mobilizing the pocket, keeping the eyes downfield. But then there'll just be a random off play where he's not moving his feet and he just tries to get rid of the ball.
Yeah. And that, to me, I think was pretty prevalent on his college tape, right? Like, there's that highlight of him throwing the off-platform 55-yard bomb down the middle of the field. When it's like, that's great, but then there's the three other plays where, like, he has a guy open on an out route and he sails it 10 yards over his head. And to me, I think you look at what Shane Steichen was able to do with Jalen Hurts and kind of bring him in and groom him and help him grow into being a passer. I don't see why he can't do that here with Anthony Richardson as well. You kind of mentioned it already. He is a little bit of like a bigger, faster, stronger version of Jalen Hurts, right? And he's this extremely moldable ball of clay that I think Shane Steichen is just going to have a field day with. And then I think you couple that with the weapons around him. Jelani Woods is a really athletic tight end. Michael Pittman Jr., really solid possession wide receiver. And Alec Pierce is kind of a home run outside the numbers threat. And then you hear the reports of Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs, their newly acquired slot receiver, hitting it off in camp. And it's like, okay, like all the pieces are there for this guy to come in and over a long period of time develop into a successful starting quarterback in the NFL. So, I mean, I really like it. He's going to be running a lot of bootlegs this season. They're going to be trying to make this offense as simple as possible. Maybe bootlegs specifically because it allows him to only have to read half the field.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in this training camp, he's working with the throwing staff on his mechanics a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well, this reminds me of, especially then with that right there, and I like that. That sounds kind of similar to like the Michael Vick approach when Dan Reeves was the quarterback his first couple of years was. It's like, get him out of the open field. He's got 1-2 reads, and if nobody's open, that means no one's guarded you. So then tuck the ball down and run. And
exactly.
Which and obviously too, he's for his size, he's going to be one of the fastest guys on the field.
Oh yeah, so he's the size. They did a comparison of the combine. He's the size of Cam Newton with the speed and quickness of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, so like that's just absurd. So you look at that, if he can just become like above average, I think with his throwing capabilities, like because Jalen Hurts has improved a lot about that. But what I think Jalen Hurts' greatest strengths was his knowledge of the game and his ability to manage the game. I think he could still improve on the passing aspect as well. Jalen Hurts specifically, it might be a controversial take, but he could still improve there. But because of his overall knowledge of the game, and we're talking about Jalen Hurts a decent bit in this episode about Anthony Richardson, but because you look at the comparison of what Steichen was able to do with Hurts, and then it seems like unlimitless. Limitless potential, so to say, with Anthony Richardson, because he can do all those same things, and, and he seems to grasp the game well, and so learning on just controlling some of those physical throwing capabilities. And as you mentioned as well, receiver wise, he has receivers that are great in all three layers of the field. Pierce can go deep. Pittman is your do-it-all type guy, and Josh Downs could be your possession receiver that can
Yeah.
can go to the middle, but also can be your short dump-off guy. They got good tight ends. And on paper, they have a good offensive line. They struggled last year with injuries, and so we'll have to see if Quentin Nelson and company can come back and be the guys. And I don't really think we've even mentioned too much about the guy in the backfield that's going to be there.
No, actually, we haven't talked about him at all.
Yeah, so being able to then heavily rely on Jonathan Taylor when the offensive line is healthy, when he is healthy, and that's obviously a big if for every single NFL team, it's going to take a lot of pressure off this first year.
Yeah.
And I think for Colts fans, I mean, write in the comments down below, but I think you guys are just happy to not have to worry about who your quarterback's going to be next year.
Yeah, exactly. What 39-year-old guy is going to come in and be taking snaps in Indy? So
the sixth starting quarterback to start the season in like 6 years, going back to Luck's last season, I think, right?
Yeah, because it was
2018, I believe, was his last one.
Yeah, but the last thing that I want to comment on, and I think Colts fans will agree with me, they have a really solid defense, right? Who's their big defensive tackle, whose name I always forget?
DeForest Buckner?
Yeah, DeForest Buckner leads the way there. Then they had Unique Ngakoue last year, but then Kwity Paye from Michigan, he's coming into his second year. They did just have somebody suspended for gambling on that defense, but that
was breaking news here. While you're continuing, I'll continue that.
But then I think they did a really good job of infusing young talent. I really like the corners that they got in Julius Brents and Darius Rush. Right, they traded Stephon Gilmore away, and they brought in 2 young guys to try and replace him.
Yeah,
and I really like both of those prospects. So I think they have the makings of a kind of grinded out team. And I know that's not the way that the NFL is going, but I think you look at what Philadelphia did last year, and I think that's the ceiling for this offense, right? So,
and it was Isaiah Rodgers that seems to be, which is interesting too, because it seems like he made bets with like his own teammates and inside the staff. If I'm reading this article,
but he was.
It's very brief. I'm just skimming it, so I don't know how accurate that is.
The report was that he was gambling on the Colts in the stadium or like in the facility, which is like a double no.
See, but I think if you're betting on your own team, it's like, aren't you supposed to be doing that? That's a totally separate video. This is about Anthony Richardson. And so in general, though, kind of wrapping everything up, Richardson's got a huge opportunity. I think he can be like, there's going to be a lot of bad throws, but I think it's going to be, throughout the season, can you see the progression? And by week 10, week 11, kind of honestly what we saw with Kenny Pickett a little bit, like when you first saw, like you had the 4 interception game, like, okay, let's take you out. Let's learn about this. Like, let's positive thing. But then you saw Pickett make that progression, and now he's clearly the guy there in Pittsburgh. And I think that can be a similar route, so to say.
I don't think it'll happen quite as fast because Richardson has a lot further to go.
But
fair. I think you look at what he brings physical skill set wise, and I think it's a really interesting dynamic that we haven't quite seen yet in the NFL. So I'm really looking forward to what he can bring to this Colts offense, and I'm really excited to watch him going forward. So let's wrap up this episode here. Let us know down below what you think of Anthony Richardson going into his rookie season. And while you're down there, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel and help us out. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.